Got some more important information to show you guys today. And I was reading this article off of the mostimportantnews.com from Michael Snyder, and it talked about something very, very important that I told myself I wanted to make a video about, and here I am making a video about it because I feel like it's important, especially with what just recently took place in Florida, and especially with what's just been happening throughout this year, and even what took place on February in Texas, which is probably the worst, just the most worst thing that has happened throughout this year so far, the whole situation in Texas in February. And before I get into that, though, I want to talk about the Florida situation, but you guys should know about this because it's breaking news, even still breaking news to this day. But it recently just took place. I believe it happened like about a day or two ago. And this reminds me, this whole situation with the Florida building collapse, that's what happened, a building collapse in Florida. It reminds me of what took place in New York on September 11th, 2011, right? Or not 2011, 2001, I meant to say. And of course, that whole situation was even worse. Of course, you guys already know the truth behind all of that, but that doesn't change the fact that America's infrastructure is definitely collapsing. And when I was reading that article off of the mostimportantnews.com, that's exactly what Michael Snyder mentioned. He talked about how the infrastructure in America is collapsing, and it's very true. That statement is very, very true. And especially with what's been happening recently, it just proves to you even more, and it makes it more and more clear that this is something that's happening. America's infrastructure is being broken down, and we literally still have circus clowns that are telling us that things are going back to normal and that everything's getting better, and your life is gonna just your life is just gonna get better if you just do what you're told and can continue complying, right? And that's not the topic for today's video, but I just wanted to bring that up again because it's ridiculous, the lies that are still being put out by these people telling you that things are getting better when they're really not, telling you that things are getting better when a bigger crisis is coming. And even the people who are preparing for it, that are running things, are literally preparing for it themselves, while they get everybody to believe that everything's just going to be cupcakes and ice cream. So yeah, this whole situation in Florida that recently just took place, it should be a reminder and a wake-up call for you to realize that our infrastructure is very vulnerable to these different types of threats. And even with what's been going on recently with the whole cyber attack thing, right? That goes to show you as well how vulnerable the utilities in this country really are as well. So, you need to be making sure that you're prepared as much as possible for what's to come, because what's to come is going to be even bigger and more shocking to humanity than what happened in 2020, which was just that test run, the warm up that they did, right? For them to be able to see how people would react, and for them to be able to see, if it would be a success, and it was a success for them. They got everybody to bow down and accept it easily, right? Or most people, not everybody, obviously. But this should be a wake-up call, folks, for you to realize that our infrastructure is being broken down. And with the whole situation that happened in Texas, right? That back in February, that was way worse than what just recently took place in Florida. Way worse. And just in case you might have forgotten about what happened in Texas, I'm going to remind you again. So in Texas, right, back in February, what happened was people were freezing. They couldn't keep themselves warm because the power was shut off for about, I believe, 2 weeks it was. And in less than a whole month, everybody was, millions of people in Texas were suffering, and nobody had power. People were panic buying in the grocery stores. There was major shortages of supplies, of course. And The refrigerated things got spoiled quickly, obviously, like the milk, right, and all that, the yogurt, all that stuff, right. But shortages were happening, and they got very, very bad, and empty shelves started popping up, literally in less than a month of that whole situation. So, can you imagine what things would look like if the grid got completely just shut down for the entire world or just the entire country for like a long-term situation, like for months or for even years, right? Or for decades. Could you imagine how bad things would get in that type of situation? And with what they're doing now with Cyber Yankee, it's becoming more obvious that this is the type of scenario that they're planning on carrying out, right? And I'm going to tell you this right now. That's going to be the absolutely most effective way of bringing this country down to its knees. That's all they have to do. Shut the power off, and then boom, great reset implemented. And then boom, everybody suffers. Nobody's prepared. Everybody's desperate for a solution. And then they come out and say, if you want some type of normalcy back in your life, if you want this sense of security, and if you want to be able to eat again, you have to go out and accept this. You have to do as we tell you. You have to accept our digital currency system. You have to do this and that in order for you to be able to eat again, right? And people are even going to get so desperate to the point that they'll end up going to the camps. They'll end up willingly going to the camps